Hello, everyone. Hello, how are you doing today? This is another episode of Naturalist Elf. If you notice, I'm here out of the regular studio today. I'm not in some elaborate place. I'm out of the old gym studio today. But thank you for tuning in to this show of Naturalist Elf that we air every Tuesday at 6 p.m. on all things relevant media. All things relevant media. If you're just hearing this or looking at this from someone else's page right now, go to all things relevant media on Facebook right now. Hit like and share with other people and follow us. But also, you can go to YouTube and you can go to all things black media, all things relevant black media, and also hit like and share there as well, and follow that page as well, where you can get all the updated shows that we have, even the shows that we've done previous. You can go in and look at those shows and enhance yourself in all aspects of life, all things that are relevant. Our show, Naturalist Elf, is going to help you with the health side. If you're looking for all things health in the naturalist way, that's why they call it Naturalist Elf. There is no superstition to it. There's no take this and you'll get this or anything like that. No, it's all about removing the cause, identifying cause and removing the cause and taking it out of your life, and then you'll feel 100% better, people. You know, so that's what you want to get to, where you're not having to depend on drugs, therapy, and other people treatments, and you can identify health in yourself and in your family. Think about it, when you no longer a liability to your family. Because think about it, you get sick, somebody got to take care of you, right? Um, you become a liability to your sister, your brother, your children. They have to take care of you. They got to carry you to the doctor. They got to wheel you around. They got to pull you over and wipe your tail and all type of other different things. When these things that you can do, provided you ain't overindulge in toxic lifestyle habits that break and wear your body down. So you want to keep your body good and healthy, where you don't become a liability to those around you, because that causes stress on their life. Your child can't go to college now because they got to sit there and change a diaper. Your children can't go to work or anything like that because they got to sit there and stop you from walking in the street because you're out of your mind. So all these different things can be avoided if you maintain proper health in yourself. And this is how we have to look at disease, and this is how we have to look at health. Don't look at it as like, I can eat what I want to eat, I can drink what I want to drink. It doesn't just affect you. Your lifestyle habits and your environment also affect others as well. Because if you're sitting in there smoking in the house with your children, it's affecting their lung. If you got air wicks and candles because you're talking about you want it to smell good and you burning out demons and all type of stuff like that, you're actually causing air pollution in all those who are in your house. You're driving out demons, all right. You're gonna drive us out. You know what I'm saying? You're poisoning us out of the house. You're using all these Cloroxes, air for and what you call it, pine saws and different things of that nature, that in so-called disinfecting the house. You know, you're going to remove everybody out of the house when you keep doing that. Now, it doesn't kill you outright. That's the thing about some poison. That's why people don't see it as threatening, because it don't kill them outright. They don't just die outright from using these poisons. So they don't see the poison as damage. People don't die from the first cigarette. People don't die from the first alcoholic drink. People don't die from the first indulgence of cooked food, or the bag of potato chips, or the cookies, or ice cream, or any of the other so-called unnatural, unhealthy food. But it's the accumulation over a period of time, the ongoing habit of eating those things, the habit of drinking those things, the habit of using those things, that wear down the human constitution. The human body is endowed with a lot of energy and endowed with strong health principles. But if there's a toxic poison that keep being introduced to the body, it will itch at the body's health until it wears it down into a weakness. And that weakness is we see in disease. We see in acute disease. We see in chronic disease. Now, acute disease is on a sharp, springing up issue. You start coughing out of the blue. You start sneezing out of the blue. You start having diarrhea out of the blue. You start having eruptions erupt from your body out of the blue. Now, that's an acute disease where the body that's sharp, brought on real sharp, real quick to free the body of waste. Now, chronic disease is one that is long standing, that the body doesn't have enough energy to throw it all out at once. It can't do the house cleaning all at once. And it's too much in there to try to keep up with doing so. So it's more of a chronic issue. It lasts a long period of time. You take out a little bit of trash. You don't take out all the trash at one time like you do in an acute disease. You start taking out a little bit of trash out that you see in a chronic disease. It's a chronic issue. It's a long-standing issue. You're going to be cleaning up for the next couple of months, and stuff like that. So that's what the chronic disease is. But that's not what we're talking about today. Our topics today were adrenaline junkies, and stimulation requires more stimulation. The dopamine depletion. We're going to talk about stimulation is irritation, and disease from overstimulation, and how to maintain emotional poise. Now, this is what a lot of our diseases result from as well. See, disease is not just from one thing. Had it been just from what we eat, we probably would never get disease. But it's because of what we eat, what we drink, what we breathe, what we think, the stress levels, lack of exercise. It's a multiplicity of things that are combined together. Had there been just one sin, we might can keep on going. But we have a multitude of sins, that are breaking and wearing our body down. I mean, we got ants biting at us, we got spiders biting at us, we got lizards biting at us, we got all type of insects warring at this flesh, because I'm just saying that those are parasites that's coming to eat us away of our house and home because of our toxic accumulation. But adrenaline junkies, what are adrenaline junkies? Our lifestyle is pretty much we are adrenaline seekers. We're looking for the rush. We're looking for a high, in other words. Now, a lot of us, we get that from, if we're not getting it from, marijuana, cocaine, alcohol, or other, drugs, or you'll say poisons that stimulate activity in our body, or stimulate activity in our minds, stimulate activity in our limbs and stuff like that. So any type of drug is a stimulant, and pretty much to say it's going to stimulate activity. Some may depress activity, but there's going to be some stimulation somewhere. It's going to stimulate another area where it's going to cause a drop in stimulation in one area. If you got a lot of activity going on in your brain because of damage, and you take something that damages your hand, your body is going to send blood from here to here. So it's less action going to be here, more action here. So there's a depression here, and there's a uptake here. All right. So that's how medicine works. If I have a problem in this area, I cause an issue over here, and the body have to redirect this energy from here to here. So this stops while this is being taken care of. But once this is taken care of, the body goes right back over here to its initial work of fixing something that is damaged there. So adrenaline junkies is what we see in taking all type of different poisons in any manner, and not just poisons. We have those who don't even take poisons, or don't even, when I say poisons, I'm talking about, your drugs, your recreational or medicinal or herbal, your tonics, such as liquors and teas and coffees and different things of that nature. But there are some that are not chemical adrenaline junkies, chemical dependent uh, uh, adrenaline junkies. We also have junkies who are in relationship. They love to be in multiple relationships. Who sex junkies get a high from over consumption of sex. You got some who sit in front of the television and adrenaline junkies from television, watching shows that are emotionally, jumping from one thing to another. And we're going to break that down in just a little bit. But you have all type of adrenaline junkies, people who are on Facebook looking for something to cause their heart to race, give them a spike. They're looking for the next spicy post. They're looking for the next spicy TikTok. They're looking for something, they're trolling the mayor page to find out the next thing that they can lash out at him about, or knowing that he about to say something retarded or say something that's just not ideal, and they ready to lash out. It's a rush. It's a rush and attacking those people, even though it might be a good thing to attack them because you're speaking truth and stuff. But at the end of the day, you're getting a rush from it. You're releasing adrenaline, and you get addicted to doing it. So now you not only looking at his page, when it pop up, you're actually trolling his page, or her page. But also you're addicted to Netflix. You're addicted to Hulu because you're looking for the high that you get from the emotional roller coaster that you get from these shows. These shows have you having feelings of sadness. That's a low. That take you to a low feeling, and then it takes you to a high feeling of rejoicing that this person found his lost mother, or this person found love, or he came out from being broke to being rich and on top of things. So you go from the lowest low. That's what most of these shows. That's how you know it's a really good show. It just take you to the lowest low and then catapult you up to a high, so high that you have this rush, this dopamine release in your brain. And this constant release of dopamine over a period of time will eventually carry you into a state of depletion, because you're going to constantly need more dopamine release, more adrenaline rushes to get that same high. The first time you rode a roller coaster, it was exciting. You were like, I want to go faster. I want to go faster. I'm going faster. And like, oh man, that was just amazing to be on the Gabbard, to be on the mind bender, to be on the mind buster, mind train, whatever, the so-called ride of the time that is just so exhilarating, but after you ride it a couple of times, that's why most parks have to keep upgrading their rides, because you eventually get tired of it, because there's no more thrill to it. There's no more thrill. Even though it's the same velocity, it's the same motions that should produce the same adrenaline. It's just that your body has now become less acceptable to that stimulation. It need more. It's like tolerating that stimulation now. So it need more of it. It need something bigger and badder, So they build a bigger roller coaster. It's higher now, and then you have a bigger fall. And you're like, that's what I'm talking about. Oh God, I felt my heart come out my chest. And then you ride that 10, 15 times till, hey, it's like you can do it eating the sandwich now. You can do it while talking on the phone. Yeah, man, I'm riding this roller coaster. It's boring. But just 10 rides ago, it was, my heart is coming out of my chest, So now you want to go and ride the next thing around the corner that's even bigger, that got an even bigger drop. And when you start riding that, oh God, the thrill has come back, So we're always seeking the next best thing to give us that rush, that dopamine release. That dopamine release is where we're getting our pleasure from. We're getting this pleasure. We always seeking pleasure. So we eventually wear out our pleasure centers. This is where the dopamine depletion comes in. We wear it out where it's no longer able to give us that high anymore, and we're steady trying to constantly doing things that are really toxic in our life to try to put ourselves in an adrenaline state. Some people jump off of rocks into rivers just to get that high. They put themselves in death-defying situation just to have that adrenaline rush, like they're cheating death. So eventually over time, we put ourselves in situations where we no longer can have that sensation, and that is a terrible situation to be in. But that dopamine depletion is when we're no longer able to have pleasure in life. Everything is kind of dull and listless, all because we overindulge in this over a period of time. Now, and we're going to talk about later on, just before we finish, some of the diseases that results in this dopamine um, overstimulation that causes a depletion of that dopamine. Just to give you an example of one, you have problems of it can cause damage in certain areas in your deep limbic system where you have the inability to love. You just don't have that. You don't get no pleasure out of loving nothing. Like there's no pleasure in anything, so you just have no love for anything. You don't love doing this because you get no reward from it. You get no pleasure from it. It's no dopamine release in it. Sex, you overindulge in it. It's become a point where there's just there's no pleasure to it anymore because there's no dopamine being released when you're having the so-called uh, sexual experience. You didn't have it too many times, too many people, too often. You just over stimulated yourself. But the stimulation is a form of irritation. That's what we don't realize as well. The stimulation that we get from always being in a fight or flight response, or releasing dopamine, the stimulation causes irritation in our body. You know, if you stimulation is irritation. You know how some people say you smoke marijuana is stimulating your mind. It's stimulating my mind, Craig. Let's stimulate my mind, Craig. Well, stimulation is another term for irritation. I got to irritate something to stimulate it. How you stimulate a mule? You chop him across the back. How you stimulate a horse? You strike him across the back. That's irritating them. That's not, you're not rubbing them saying, let's go, baby. No, you whip them. I mean, you gorge at them. So when you lash at these organs and tissues and tell them, because most times when your body is not properly functioning, it's doing so because it's fatigued. If the mind is not allowing you to think and do things, how some people say they take something that stimulate them to think more. It stimulate them to write more. It stimulate them to talk more, give them courage and all this type of stuff. But the reason why you don't have that is because there's a fatigue in that organ. That organ is fatigued, is stressed, is functioning at a low level. So when you irritate it, you cause more blood to come to that area. Now, more blood to that area is going to get more function. So if there's no blood in the area, it's less functioning. Like if you don't have blood in your stomach, okay, anytime you eat, blood have to come to that stomach to help give function into your stomach to digest the food. So that's why blood comes from everywhere else in your body, and all the blood is circulated around the stomach to digest your food. All right. So only functioning happens when there's blood present. If no blood is present to an organ or tissue or area, there's no activity going to go on. You're going to have more activity in the brain when there's excessive blood flow in that area. If there's no blood flow, there's going to be less action in the brain. So if we're constantly irritating with poisons, poisons get into our body, we smoke, and that irritation goes in and start irritating the body to release dopamine, that's going to be a stimulant. It's going to be irritating to produce more. It's irritating it to produce more. It's stimulating it to produce more. All right. So this overproduction eventually causes a breakdown, a depletion of dopamine release. It also causes damage to the organ that's being lashed and constantly whipped into action. That's just like with laxatives. When you take laxatives to create a diarrhea, you're constipated and you use laxative to create a diarrhea. Now that's a irritant. It irritates the colon to release its contents. So it's not that the laxative is only the laxative is irritating. All right. The laxative is so irritating that the laxative is so irritating that the body is threatened by this poison, and what it does is release this poison real rapidly. Now, all the contents that is in the colon is going to be released also, so that's the irritation going on. All right. So now over time, excuse me, over time, that irritation is going to cause the colon to harden, and it's going to require not only but one laxative to cause that same irritation or that movement. It's going to have you're going to have to use two laxatives in a couple of weeks. All right. Then you're going to have to lose 3 couple of months after that. Then you're going to need 4. Then you're going to need 5. Then you're going to need 6 until that laxative is no longer going to make you. It's not going. The body is not going to respond to that laxative. You're going to have to use a whole nother poison or another irritant. All right, yes, ma'am. I'll definitely give you a call. But you have to use a whole different irritant to get the same movement. Now that's when you start losing toleration. That's when the body starts tolerating the poison. If it tolerated poison, there's not going to be any movement. So you got to use another poison to get another movement. And this is the same thing with the roller coaster. When you start tolerating the poison, or you start tolerating the excitement, it's no longer exciting anymore. Your body loses the ability to feel threatened or get a rush from the poisonous intake or the poisonous excitement. So here it is. You have to use more. Stimulation requires more stimulation. Continued stimulation requires more continued stimulation to get the same desired effect. To get the same effect of that rush, jumping off of a seesaw is not going to be exciting as jumping off a mountaintop. Jumping out of an airplane is even more exciting than that. So to get the same stimulation, to get the same excitement, it's going to require more and more stimulation to get that same effect from the initial use. Just like we see in crack addicts, they're trying to get that first one was blew their head off, and now they need more. They're chasing that initial excitement. They're trying to get that back by using more and more and more and more until they just die, And the same thing with us. We're doing the same thing in everything. We when we eat certain foods, those foods stimulate us, stimulate our stomach, and we keep eating that stimulating food over and over until, once upon a time, we didn't need nothing but 1 cup of sugar in our tea. Now we need the whole bag in there to taste the sugar. Now that tastes sweet. It wasn't sweet when we had just that 1 cup. Now, when we begun drinking it, oh man, this is too sweet. This 1 cup of sugar. But now, we can put more sugar. The alcoholic, one drink used to get him drunk and tipsy, but now he can drink a whole bottle without getting the effects of what the one drink used to do for him. So here it is, toleration has set in, or accommodation. The body is now accommodating the poisonous substance. It's now accommodating the ongoing stimulation till it's no longer going to react or you get the same desired effect. So in doing so, you're going to need more stimulation. So this is where your addiction comes in. You're addicted to this thing now because you got to do it more often now. You know, you used to drink one drink. Now you have to drink a little more to get the same effect of the adrenaline rush, the dopamine release. So now you're doing your ritual a little more often. You got to ride bigger and badder things. You got to eat more toxic foods. You got to drink more toxic drinks just to get the same effect. You got to indulge with more toxic poison. The medical people got to give you more toxic drugs to get the same stimulation in your kidneys to filter out water. You know, they give you a little itty bitty diuretic at the beginning. Now you're taking 5 different forms of diuretics, water pills, high blood pressure medicine. So it's because your body is building tolerance to the poison. And that's not a good thing to build tolerance, because building tolerance is an accommodation, it's a metamorphosis. It's where your body is changing its function to deal with poisons instead of do what it was naturally designed to do. If your lungs is to tolerate air pollution, it must change its functions. It must change its character. It must change its physical nature. Its cells and tissues must redesign themselves to deal with the air pollution and not to exchange oxygen for carbon dioxide. That's what it was designed to do. Its natural structure and function is to exchange carbon for dioxide. It wasn't designed to repel cigarette smoke and cigar smoke and fragrances and air wicks and different things that we pollute our body and lungs with. So, but if we're constantly engaged in these toxic environments, then the body has to eventually change its function to harden itself to that constant irritation, that constant stimulation. You go into a house with smoke and you're coughing. You know, you're a healthy young lung. They call it young lung. But you go inside of a place with a bunch of incense, air wicks, you're sneezing and coughing, and you're like, oh God, it's toxic in here. But the other people around you who live in that environment, they're like, what do you mean? We don't smell anything. We don't smell anything, you know. But then if you stay there and you stay there for many days and many weeks, you get to the point where you don't smell anything. And a new person come in and say, oh my God, what, can y'all put out those candles and take out the air wicks? It's toxic in here. But you have lowered your constitution, your physical constitution, by constantly engaging in this toxic stimulation. So we weaken our body. So lowering your constitution is weakening your resistance. It's like a weakening to your resistance, and your body becomes sick. Your body becomes diseased because you're lowering your resistance. Your body, your response. Your body is not going to respond to have the energy to respond to intruders, toxic substances. So you're weakening your body. If your body has no power, then it can't defend itself from other habits, other lifestyle, uncleanliness, and different things of that nature. So we see ourselves going into sickness. We see ourselves going into different diseases. But that stimulation is a constant irritation. Now, irritation is the second, well, actually the third stage of disease. The first stage of disease is innervation. All right. When innervation is when our body becomes fatigued. It's the weakness. Overstimulation causes it to become tired, weak. It's no longer want to work. If you keep working a horse and you never give him rest, every time he gets sleepy, you tell him, no, it's not time to go to sleep. You hit him across the back, tell him, keep on running. And after a while, he starts slowing down again. He want to rest, and you better no, get to work. And you chop him across his back again, and y'all galloping. He go to back to galloping. Every time you hit him, he go back to galloping. But every time if you keep this up, you'll notice that the first time he was able to go 4 more hours without slowing down. Now you notice that it's 3 hours between every lashing, 2 hours between every lashing, 1 hour between every lashing until he fall out dead. So it seems as though his energy is becoming 50% short every time between the lashing. But if you constantly give that to him, he eventually, like I said, end up falling out dead. Now imagine we do that with our organs and tissue. Our kidneys are begging to be left alone because we have fatigued our organs, our kidneys, by constantly filtering out alcohol, filtering out soda, teas, coffees, and other unnatural drinks. We've been getting rid of excessive salts and sugars and other crystals via the kidneys. We also been wearing out our colon by excessive eating, overeating, eating in wrong combinations, eating foods that are unnatural. The digestive tract have to constantly get rid of that waste. It can't make use of it, so it constantly getting rid of it. Now, when that organ no longer have the energy to get rid of it, it just sits there and calcifies, become a source of internal poison. Same thing with the kidneys. If the kidneys can't filter the blood of its crystals, those crystals are stored in areas of the body that eventually causes damage and irritation to those organs. So that toxemia, when the body becomes low in energy, the toxins are accumulated. That's stage 2, toxemia, where the blood become toxic, the cells and tissues are toxic because the kidneys and colon is not draining the toxins from the body because they're too tired. They're too fatigued. They've been overworked, overstimulated. So now they are tired and worn out. They need rest. And so the toxins in the body tend to accumulate while they're resting. Now, that accumulated toxins are inside irritating cells and tissues. That irritation causes inflammation. We start feeling pain and suffering from the irritating substances that are being stored in our body. Now, if those toxins are sustained for a long period of time in the body, it will damage those. That irritation would be a constant irritation to those cells and tissues, where those cells and tissues are hardened. They harden themselves to that constant irritation. They get calluses on them because if you keep irritating and scratching here, it eventually going to become. We'll see an ulceration first with blood and sores be there, and then eventually a big hardening, a scab appear that's protect me from scraping it. So that hardening is a protective, but that hardening is a change in character. My hand is supposed to be soft and baby like, but if I'm constantly irritating, it's going to have this big ugly scar on it. Now it's no longer functioning like a hand; it's functioning as a protective covering. So the whole structure of this cell is changed from being baby-like to Frankenstein-like, So imagine that going on inside if that's going on the hand, imagine that's going on inside your colon, inside your lungs, inside your liver, inside your kidneys, or any other tissue in the human body that is subjected to the poisons, the bone, the joint areas, all that arthritis, inflammation going on in those areas because of constant stimulation or irritation from the poisons that we are allowing to accumulate in our body. Now, when we go to the doctor, when we first get to this point, see, we don't get to that point. It's hard to get to that stage, what I'm talking about there. But if you constantly going to the doctor, let's rewind. If you're constantly going to the doctor and you complaining that, okay, I got a bunch of fluid on my body, I got a bunch of I can't have a bowel movement, I'm having problems with bowel movement, and he's constantly giving you laxative, he's constantly giving you diuretics, then you are whipping your horse and not allowing it to rest. Now, you would say, well, what do I supposed to do if I'm constipated? I need to take something to release this constipation. I need to do something to get this fluid off me. Well, the first thing to do is stop what's producing it. You don't have to worry about dying from constipation if you stop eating. Stop stuffing yourself and allow your colon to get rest and let it work on its own. It's going to work sooner or later when it get energy to do so. So don't eat until it's time. You're not going to die in 2 to 3 days or 5 to 7 days. People have gone 60 and 80 days without eating in the form of a fast. And their bowels was constantly working throughout the fast to get rid of all that waste that has been accumulating over the many years that they were stuffing themselves. But we're not telling you to go that long in fasting. We're just telling you it makes no sense to eat food when you have a blockage going on in your digestive tract, when it's constipated, it's not moving, when it's inactive, it has no functioning. Why eat when the organ that is supposed to digest your food is not functioning? If you're having a bunch of fluid and your kidneys is not functioning, why are you sitting there drinking all that water, eating foods that are going to constantly or even have the stress, and taking pills and toxins that are going to keep a lot of fluid circulating in your body and blood? Because that fluid is there to dilute the poisons and toxins to make them less irritating. All that fluid in the area in your arm, all that fluid in the area in your joints and stuff like that, that fluid is there to dilute the poisons that's irritating that area. It makes it less irritating. It's a protective mean. But by it being a protective mean, it also put pressure on the tissues and organs that are around that fluid. That swelling going on and different things. It stops you from being able to bend and different things of that nature. So even the protective means of the body is what we see as in our so-called diseases, but the diseases is a protective means. All we have to do is find out what's causing it, removing the cause, and those situations disappear. Once you give rest to the kidneys, it start draining again. Once you give rest to the colon, it start draining again. So those organs and tissues that help filter out toxins out of the body will eventually come back active when you give rest to them. Overstimulation is going to stop their use and kill them. You're going to be like their dead horse. That's not the ideal way to be. But we see that adrenaline as a rush is the thrill, it's the fear that sweeps through the body when faced with high excitement. We want that rush. If a bear chasing us, it's good to have an adrenal rush. All right. If a bear chasing us, we need to be able to fight or flight. We get that adrenaline that's sending, blood to our muscles and cause them to become stronger, and to our eyesight where we can see and calculate our next best move. Gives it to our lungs where we can take in more oxygen to be more stronger and be able to, have endurance, optimize our fight or flight. Either we're going to run or we're going to be able to beat this beast. So you're going to have this stimulant that is released in your body to stimulate every function. If you're running, it's going to stimulate your legs and to be able to run faster than you ever ran before, buddy. If it's the fight, it's going to have you Joe punching better than you ever did before, because you're in a state of survival. All right. Now, when you are in these stress situations or in this fight response that's triggered from a threatening situation or the emotions that we're being released, because believe it or not, when you're sitting in front of these television shows and they got you feeling the emotions of sadness, they got you feeling the emotions of you're actually living the life of those actors, and everything that they're going through, you're going through, even though you're not moving around, anything. You're sitting in front of a TV hypnotized. You're sucked into this TV like a zombie. You know, you don't even notice the people in the room around you for the next 30 to 45 minutes to an hour, however long the movie is. You're just sitting there. People can be talking to you. You done went in there and try to talk to somebody while they looking at TV, and they didn't even hear you. You had to pop them a couple of times. You don't hear me? I'm trying to talk to you. Oh, baby, I was looking at the show. You know, buddy just got, robbed, and oh my God, it's just, oh man, you got to sit down and watch this. Yeah, you're tuned in. You're tuned in. It's like a hypnotism. It's like it got you linked into your prefrontal cortex. So you're going through all the emotions that these actors are portraying in these shows. So if they're running down the street, it's like you're running down the street and your heart starts beating a little more. If they're going through a problem, you feel the low sadness and different things of that nature. You start crying if they're crying, and all these sensations and feelings you're going through, these emotions. So your body releases electrochemicals when these emotions are triggered in your body. So not only are you, it's not just a good movie, your body is releasing chemicals to every emotion that your body evokes, be it from your own lifestyle, be it from exposure to television, radio, or what have you. So here it is. You got it where you might have something that invoke fear into you, like this so-called pandemic. They got everybody so much in fear, like, oh God, everybody about to die. The children about to die now. It was once upon a time at the beginning of this that, hey, don't worry about the babies, don't worry about the kids. It's only in older people. And now it seemed like it trickled down from older people and went into the when most of the older people then been abused and died from it. They went down to the adults and started, saying that they are subject to it and that they are dying from it. And then once they, most of the adults, how I'm hearing it, most of them is bucking on this this vaccine and all this. So now they're going to the kids. They got to get rid of all this excess of drugs they done produce. They can't go dumping all them vaccine syringes in the sea, kill all the fish. You're trying to kill up all the fish and the sharks and stuff? No. That'd be a best place for them to put all their medicine. Matter of fact, one of the hygienist doctors used to always say it was best for us humans to gather up all the medical man pills and throw it in the ocean. It said it'd be good for the human race, but it'd be bad for the sea creatures. They're gonna die from all that dumps of poison and compounds that we throw into that ocean. But now we see that it's going down into the kids. It's like the kids are now being told that they're going to die. Our kids are going to die if they don't get vaccinated. Why are you telling people that now? And that's the story is being changed every month, seem like, and we're not catching on to that. They were saying that the kids don't even suffer this issue. It's like they had immunity at the beginning, and now it got to where they were saying that if the kids did get it, they had a 99.9% chance of overcoming it with little problems. They didn't really have no sensations or issues going through it. But now it's like, oh God, they're gonna die. Your kids is gonna die if you don't get vaccinated. Oh, please vaccinate the kids. They're dying left and right around here. Oh God, the kids dying. They're dying. And we're hearing this all over the radio. We're hearing this on the television. And it's crazy, man. We have to pay attention to what's really going on. But we have to keep emotional poise. We're lacking emotional poise in our life. But some of the diseases that result from our overstimulation is breakdown. Fatigue is the number one disease in overstimulation. It's breakdown. It's fatigue. Your body is no longer functioning. Fatigue is low functioning power. Organs used to function properly. I mean, you can have great function, like for in male will have a functioning in sexual organ. They could function like a little young kid, you know, until they overindulge or their energy levels get low and they don't function like they used to. They got to go and get something to get some more functioning. They got to go get some Cialises or some, um, what's the other thing? I know Cialis and some another one that uh, gives them back their energy, give them back that power, because there's not enough energy for that. It's not important. We can't be around here using up all our energy in sex when we don't have that much. We need to use that energy to keep you breathing, buddy. We need to keep that energy to keep your heart beating, to keep your mind thinking. So we don't have energy to just use haphazardly anymore. When you were young, you had buku of energy. It hasn't been squandered away yet. So you can just throw it away back to back. You can, have sex 10 times a day and be full power. Now, oh man, you got to sparingly use that thing once a month, once every 2 months or twice a year. you know Otherwise you won't have enough energy to have your life. After doing that, you be down for a couple of weeks. You have no energy, you suffer disease and different things. And that's not just with men, that's with women as well. They start having issues showing that they're low functioning power too. The that area no longer produce lubricant. You have to go to the store and get all this lube to lube you up now. You dry, and different things of that nature. It hurt. You have pain, swelling down there. It's no longer pleasurable. So that's the body is letting you know that this is a waste of energy because you don't have enough energy on hand. So you're gonna suffer sexual disorders due to overstimulation, overusage, fatigue, and all this different thing. So if you want to get back to having the sexual drive and the sexual excitement and the pleasures that come from it, we have to get back energy in our life and find out ways that we've been overstimulating ourselves that we can recuperate our energy, where we can have the joys of life back. But also, we have it where when you have adrenaline being released in your body, the steroid or the adrenal cortex, the adrenaline glands are right above the kidneys. It's like 1/8 of an ounce each, and the adrenal cortex makes steroid hormones such as aldosterone and cortisol. And I know a lot of people heard of the term cortisol because you hear that in a lot of diabetes stuff where they're talking about people with protruding stomachs who have stubborn stomach fat. It's because of cortisol production that's causing fat to be deposited in the stomach area. Now, we know diabetes can be a result of high stress levels because when people become stressed, that stress is going to cause an adrenaline release. All right, it's going to cause your body to be in a stimulated situation. And that's what causes a lot of diabetes is stress. People are worried, fear. And so for you to be worried and fear, you're in an adrenaline state. You're going to release cortisol. You're going to release sugar because you got to be able to have energy to run. You got to have energy to fight. So you got to have more release of energy, which is sugar, glucose. So more glucose is being thrown into the blood to help you to be able to have energy to fuel your cells to fight or to run. All right. But if you're not running and you're not fighting, you're just sitting there and oh my God, and distressing and worrying and all type of stuff, but there's no action. There's no fighting. There's no fighting. Then that excess of sugar is just pooling up in your blood. The excess of cortisol is just pooling up in your body. And it becomes a source of problem. All right. So our overstimulation, our stress level, this is great to stop allowing ourselves to be adrenal junkies because we're overworking ourselves. But this cortisol increases breakdown of proteins and sugars. So this cortisol is also breaking sugars down and allowing more sugar to be circulating in the blood, and it also starts breaking down proteins. Proteins is the basic structure of the human body, organisms and tissues and stuff like that. So you start having a degeneration in your body. Cells are becoming weak, and because they don't have the structure. It's like boars, and it's like when you building a house and you put up the structure around before you put up the sheetrock and different things. That's the structure. If it has no foundation and structure, cells and tissues start falling apart. And cortisol actually helps with the breakdown of that. It'll put you in that state of ketosis. That's why you see a lot of people when they're in stress and fear, their body just start withering away. They start losing weight and different stuff. They start downsizing in the form of ketosis. And aldosterone causes sodium and water retention. So that's why you see when we're in stressful situations, we tend to hold on to salt and water. That what raises the blood pressure. So you notice that when we're stressed, the blood pressure goes up. We start suffering with high blood pressure, high blood sugar, and different things. So these diseases that we're thinking only come from nutrition comes from our lifestyle habits as well. So if we look at not only our nutrition, now nutrition is not just food alone. Nutrition is the sum total of all the experiences and ways that we are to be healthy. Sun is nutrition. You get nutrition from the sun. You get nutrition from the air. You get nutrition from the water. You get nutrition from your food. So nutrition is the sum total of all the things that is needed for human vitality. All right. So if we want to be able to ward ourselves from the diseases of overstimulation, which is, like I said, fatigue is the first thing. That's the first stage of disease, innervation. Then toxic buildup, which is toxemia. And then irritation from this toxic buildup, which brings on an inflammation. And this inflammation leads to a general hardening around the tissues that are constantly being irritated. And that irritation or that hardening is a degeneration or metamorphosis. In other words, the tissue have to change its function. In other words, it metamorphosizes. It's changing its function. It's changing its structure, or it's just degenerating. It's just disappearing. It's just breaking down into nothing. That's the end stage. But we don't have to get to that part. We can stop our overstimulation. We don't have to let the horse die in the last hour, but we have to start beating him. We got to give him a chance to sit down and rest, and then we'll make it to wherever we're going, without having to have a dead horse, a dead kidneys, a dead lungs, dead colon, or any of the other organs that we constantly stimulate into action when they're begging for rest. Now, emotional poise is just having balance in our life. We have to have poise. We have to have balance. It's good eating food, but we have to eat food in the right state of mind. And that real food now. I ain't talking about this other poisons and stuff. I'm talking about food such as fresh fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. Those have to still be eaten in moderation, eaten in the right combination, eaten when truly hungry. When hunger presents itself, then we eat, and we eat all that hunger demands. Nothing more, nothing less. So we're eating in the right balance. We're eating when we're in emotional poise. We're eating when we're in a state of calmness to allow the blood to not be in our mind. If we worry and stressing, then all our blood is in our brain. There's no blood for stomach digestion. So we need to be at poise, allow the body to digest food. Also, we're not working, we're not running around while we're eating our food. Doing so would not allow proper digestion. If all the blood is in our feet, there would be no blood in our stomach. So it's all about having emotional pause, sitting down calm, in a good state of mind, and we can enjoy the natural things of life, breathing in fresh air, drinking water, eating ideal food, acquiring sunlight, exercising. All those good things bring about health. I want to encourage you to have a better mindset when it comes to stimulation. We see a lot of religions teach on prudence, teaching on not overindulging in things to conserve energy, to conserve righteousness. Certain cultures have it where they don't allow televisions, radios, and other destructive things that over drain or overstimulate the people of their culture. America is the modern day Babylon, people. It's modern day Egypt, where anything goes. It's Rome. Anything goes. But even in this toxic world, we can go into our own wilderness and allow ourselves to preserve ourselves, to cleanse ourselves, to heal ourselves. It only takes for you to have a mind to live right. It takes for you to say, today I'm going to live. I don't care if the world around me is on fire. I'm going to live in such a way where I can preserve myself and be the light to many, where they can see what I'm doing. And I can actually help heal other people by allowing them to see that, yes, getting fresh air is ideal. Yes, eating fresh fruits and vegetables is ideal. Yes, exercising is ideal. Getting rest is ideal. Drinking clean water is ideal. Keeping emotional poise, not allowing myself to be an adrenaline junkie is ideal for health. All right. So let's live in such a way where our energy levels are conserved and not used up. Our dopamine levels are conserved and not depleted. Let's make sure that our stimulation is healthy stimulation and not constant overstimulation from poisonous drugs and habits that doesn't build up the body. I want to see you next week, same time, 6 p.m. And we're going to talk about some good, exciting topics to talk about health, to get you into a healthful state of mind. I hope that this show was very educational. We're not medical doctors. We're not psychologists or any of those type of terms. We're holistic practitioners, hygiophysicians, and naturopathic doctors. We want to make sure that you realize that nothing in our teachings is to promote medicine, herbs, or remedies of any of that type of modality. Our purpose is solely to teach you a lifestyle that is conclusive and conducive with health using only natural means, natural substances such as fresh air, sunlight, air, and water, and the ideal foods, exercise, rest, and sleep. Those things is what promote health. Those things, when not used, will create disease. So we ask that you learn the ways of health, that you may not suffer disease. You'll be in a state of health always. Best of health and happiness from Savannah Natural Health. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week.